Ashley at the Awakened State. Today I'm going to talk about demystifying grounding. We're going to take it old school and talk about the importance of grounding and how we can start to easily learn to ground our energy in 5 easy ways. Stay tuned. All right. How do we demystify grounding? And what is grounding really? Well, grounding is really this feeling of feeling safe, supported, and connected to the world around us. So if you're really new to grounding and what grounding actually is, what's basically happening is our body goes into this state. I like to call it autopilot mode. And when we're in an autopilot mode, we're usually in a state where we're reactive or we're in a state of fear. And what this does is it's part of how we just grew up as human, and we have what is known as a survival mechanism. And this survival mechanism is there to keep us safe. It's there to keep us in this state of fight or flight mode. So what happens when we feel ungrounded, we're actually entering this state of fight or flight mode. And this is where we usually get triggered into a reactive pattern. And when we're in a reactive pattern, it's as if our mind is on autopilot, and we usually feel disconnected from source. We feel disconnected from our bodies. We feel disconnected from who we truly are as spiritual beings. And in that place, we usually feel disconnected. So in that state of feeling disconnected, we have lack, we tap into lack. We start feeling lack of support. We start feeling lack of safety. We don't feel that we are fully connected to the world around us. So the patterns that I see most people have is they usually feel disconnected or they feel dissociated. They have low energy. They usually feel pressure or like a franticness. And generally, a lot of the times when we're in this place of feeling ungrounded, we feel like the world is out to get us, or we feel that we aren't supported in life, whether through our relationships, through our environment, through our money, through our health. All of this interconnects back to the root chakra, and knowing that, we start to just peel back those layers and we start to see that grounding is really about learning to be reconnected to our physical world around us, our physical environment, our bodies, and most of all, source. And our body is interconnected to source energy. So naturally, when we're in that place of fear or lack or scarcity, what is happening is we are feeling disconnected from source, and that's what causes that resistance. That's what causes the reactive pattern. So grounding is about reconnection. It's about feeling supported. It's about feeling safe. So the easiest way to get grounded is to start working with the root chakra. And the root, it's very, very, very simple root practices that help you get reconnected. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go into these root practices and start learning to establish this as a daily habit in your life. And some of these things are so simple, but we don't often interconnect them to how we are getting triggered and how we can also start going beyond just the survival mechanism. And a big, huge piece of that is just learning to stay grounded and present in our bodies. So, the 5 easy ways to start getting grounded, easier than ever, are 1, keep yourself fed and nourished. Now, I know that may sound really simple, but believe it or not, I don't know how many times I've run across spiritual people who are like super airy-fairy, myself included, and their diet is terrible and they're not eating properly, or they're fasting all the time. And there's nothing wrong with fasting, but my point is, if we want to keep our energy stabilized and secure, we need to make sure we're nourishing our bodies and keeping ourselves fed. And usually this means root chakra food, which is protein-rich food. So meat, protein, any type of protein, like beans or tofu and stuff like that. And then along with root veggies. And just knowing that that little thing can really help keep your energy stabilized. I mean, this should be basic knowledge, but if you think about it, when we are fed and we are nourished properly, we have more energy, we have more stability, and we naturally feel supported in our body because our body is nourished. In that same way, if we're not nourishing our body and we're not keeping ourselves fed, we usually go into a survivalism mode because our body is kind of like fighting for survival. It's fighting for nourishment. And while this may seem so simple, it's really interesting to start watching when you aren't eating properly or you're going a long time without food. You will notice your body go into resistance patterns easier or go into the fight and flight mode. So 1, keep yourself fed and nourished with protein-rich foods. 2, physical movement. Physical movement is the best way to get reconnected to source, because when we get reconnected to source, we're reconnecting with our bodies. So physical movement can be walking, physical exercise, yoga, doing house chores, any kind of physical movement. You can even do jumping jacks. Sometimes I'll do jumping jacks just to like help snap me back into the body, because that's really it. When we're ungrounded, what we're feeling is that we're so much in our heads that we're not grounding fully back into our bodies. And what this does is, I see this so much, is we'll have an overactive third eye, and our root in our lower chakras will be very like unstabilized because we're all up here and, you know, all the spiritual downloads and all of that, but we're not anchoring that energy back into the earth, which is centering and stabilizing and feeling supported and feeling safe and feeling connected. And in that way, what happens is we're just like, we're so in our heads that we're disconnecting from our bodies. And that is usually what creates this fear and lack mentality. So physical movement is so crucial to just snapping back into the body. Number 3, focus on your environment. So what do I mean by that? I mean, start getting more present. When we're usually stuck in a fearful or an ungrounded place, what is usually happening is we're so caught up in our head. And when we're caught up in our head, we're usually like sitting down in one place. And this is what I tend to notice is when we're just stuck and we're just sitting like at the computer or staring at our phones, we're not getting reconnected back to our bodies. So establishing those physical movement breaks and focusing more on your environment and your surroundings around you will help you get reconnected back to the world around you. There is often an emphasis of where we feel we have to detach from the physical world around us. And that mentality is so effed up. It's so wrong because we're not reconnecting back to our bodies when we do that. When we feel that we have to detach from materialism and we have to detach from the physical world around us, that is actually an indicator that you need to work on your root and you need to start working on focusing more on present awareness. Because if we're not focused back on our body and if we're not focused on an environment, then we're just like all up in here. And usually for me, that's a sign that we're like out in the inner dimensions of space and we feel like we're floating above ourselves. And that's what can cause those out-of-body experiences, and that's what can cause that feeling of dissociation. And when we are in that place where we feel that we are dissociated from the world around us, it's an indicator that you need to get your butt grounded. So going back to number 3, focus on your environment. Now, what do I mean by that? Decluttering, doing house chores, moving around your house, focusing on going outside into the world, reconnecting back to like your home life and the people around you. All these things are very basic, but that will help you stay grounded, which leads me into number 3, get connected. Now, we can get connected by having conversations, talking to people in real life, looking into their eyes, listening to them, active listening, and looking into their eyes and fully understanding what they're saying. Getting reconnected can also mean a spiritual practice and, meditating and getting present with yourself. Getting connected can also mean breath work. In breath work, we just 1 to 5 minutes, just a long deep breathing through your nose, pranayama style. That can help you get reconnected. Focusing on the details in life, focusing on getting yourself more present and more aligned. A mantra that I use for getting present is, I choose to be present. I choose to be aligned. And just that alone, it just helps redirect you back to getting reconnected. And lastly, number 5, tap into the feelings of support and safety. So that is really about knowing that I am safe, I am supported, I'm always taken care of, and my needs are being met. We are always meant to be supported. We're always meant to be taken care of. But we grew up with these mentalities that told us otherwise, and we got to reconnect them, and we have to rewire them and know that we are always safe, we are always supported, we are always accepted, we are always loved, and we are always connected. We don't think we are. When we feel disconnected, it's just a method of just shifting back. And when we feel that we are disconnected from the world around us, it's just a matter of choosing again. These aren't huge concepts. These are very basic. And once we just start learning this simple practice of learning to get grounded with yourself, you can start to see that we are always safe, we are always supported, and we are always connected. So when we tap into those feelings in our body starts responding to knowing that we are safe, knowing that we are supported, knowing that we are taken care of, knowing that our needs are being met. So just start to ask yourself, do I feel supported? What are some things in my life that make me feel supported already? What are some things in my life that make me feel connected already? And then go do that. Okay, so to summarize, what are the 5 easy ways to get grounded? 1, keep yourself fed and nourished. 2, physical movement. Make sure that you are moving your body and snapping back into your body, which either movement breaks or walks or just getting up and moving around the house even. 3, focus on your environment. Focus back on getting present and into the details of your life. 4, get connected. Get reconnected with either a spiritual practice, a conversation, getting physical into learning active listening. So getting physical. Like the root chakra is based on so much physical awareness. We have to learn to it's almost as if instead of detaching from the material world around us, we have to actually reconnect and get more present in our bodies, present with the people around us, present with our environment, and learn to tune in and actively listen. That's what getting connected is really about. Learning to tune into the messages all around you. And number 5, tap into the feelings of support and safety. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson of awakening tips. I'd love to hear your questions in the comments. Leave them below, and I'll see you next week.